in light of Mitch Marner's return, he had a lot to say, specifically to the media, calling them out, and he just is very upset with a lot of people right now. So I'm going to break that down in this episode of Leafs Digest, as well as Ryan Reaves. He is getting praise from Auston Matthews and the fan base following his interesting performance and some great fights out of him over the past few days. So I'm going to break all that down. But before we do, a quick reminder, hit the subscribe button. We are on the road and very, very, very close to 7,000 subscribers. So if you're a part of that 80% who aren't subscribed, make sure to hit that button. And Darius, let's get right into it. Some interesting things to discuss today. And Mitch Marner has been in the headlines of not just the Leafs kind of media, but NHL talk as well, as he calls out the media. And he did it on several occasions. He did it a week ago. And then now, following his return of his absence and injury, he did it again. So I'm going to read out the quote here. This is what he had to say. He said, quote, "Just like I spoke on before, I know I've said a lot of times, you guys are not kind to some people sometimes, and stuff gets said about a lot of people during tough stretches or tough moments, and obviously that doesn't define one person," and he obviously has touched on Ilya Samsonov a bit. And Darius, if you look back to a week or so ago, when they asked him, since his injury was kind of a mystery, he said, "I've been watching every game, you guys have been talking about it every single game, I think you guys can say whatever you want, it's behind me now, stuff happened, and you just go from it," which gives no more clarity as to what that injury is. But he did return and from his 12-game absence. But the media is kind of saying, everyone's kind of saying, it's time to just focus on playing, getting back, and actually playing well, not caring what the media says. Because, I mean, they're obviously, media sometimes aren't kind. That's kind of their job. And it's not just Mitch Marner that the media is rough to sometimes.
No, and well, first of all, I love the fact that he came out and did defend Ilya Samsonov in that way, because there were things said about Ilya Samsonov, but again, you're not going to change the media, the narrative. Sometimes there is a narrative. Samsonov wasn't playing great earlier in the season, and I like that Marner kind of came to his defense there. That's first of all, but then second of all, like you mentioned there, I don't know how much I like Mitch Marner even bringing up this stuff. The fact that he said he's been watching every game, I assume he's watching it in the press box, not like on the, through the radio or TV or whatever it is, hearing what they're saying about him. And I don't think that he should care. He knows what he can do out there on the ice, and he knows what he brings. And I would rather him focus on that stuff and get ready for the playoffs than focus then on what the media is saying about him. Because yes, sometimes it might be good to know so you can kind of look at different aspects of your game. But if you focus too much on this and make this a story, because this really wasn't a story until he kind of fired back and was saying that, it's not the injury you guys are saying saying it is. And that kind of took me back too, because now I'm thinking that it's probably a different injury. But anyway, I think he's kind of the fact that he took the time to focus on this has blown it up into something that it didn't really need to be, because his injury is his injury, and it is what it is, right? We may not know exactly what it is, but I think it blew up a little bit bigger than it should have, just because he's focusing a little bit too much on this.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, realistically, if we were to nitpick every media comment, I'm sure a lot of players would go out there and say something like this every single day. And not to hate on Mitch Marner, he's obviously a great player, but yep. I think he just needs to focus on playing hockey, because we know how important he's going to be to this team going forward. And I don't know. Yeah, honestly, the comment defending Samsonov, it didn't really strike me as anything too crazy. Obviously, the media is bad. It was more so the one about how he got hurt. We still don't even know what happened with that injury. Hopefully, he's going to continue to play well. Do you have any thoughts on his impact going forward for the Leafs? That's why it's a big concern of Leafs fans right now. Is the Leafs know how much, and fans know how much they need Mitch Marner in order to be successful in this playoff run, and he needs to focus on that, in my opinion, and not focus on any of this stuff because it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I was worried at first about the news of what the injury was. It looks like it's not what we thought it was. And a high ankle sprain, I was worried about him coming back because we've seen it in the past. We keep mentioning it. Joseph Woll came back, doesn't look great. Timothy Liljegren, I think he can play better than he is, and I think it's because of that injury. So again, I was a little worried about that, but it seems like that wasn't the injury. He's back now. He didn't start slow. He got an assist last night. He was, into the game. I like how they spread the lines out a little bit. So I thought he had a good game, and I thought, you didn't really look slow or rusty or anything like that. So it's good. I'm not too worried. We know he's gonna, have a big role heading into the playoffs. Of course he is. He's the big money maker. He's one of the top 4 guys. So it's going to be interesting to see what he does down the stretch and into the playoffs, because he's got to come up huge again. But the fact that he mentioned that, it just makes me think that wasn't the injury. It is something else. So I'm not as worried, if that makes sense. I know it's still an injury, but I'm not as worried because we've seen a track record of high ankle sprains kind of derail seasons. So if it's not that, maybe, we shouldn't be too worried.
Yeah, should be good. Let us know your thoughts on that on his comments as well. There's let's move on to something a bit of fun here, which is Ryan Reaves gets praise from Auston Matthews, gets praise from the fan base. I mean, at the start, we rewind to the start of the season here. the contract, or not even just the contract, the signing in general, the player, Ryan Reaves, was not playing very well whatsoever. And then now you get into it, and he is getting praise from everyone. Auston Matthews on Ryan Reaves after his fight, he says he's just an animal, honestly. He's a beast. It's moments like those where you really realize how important he is to the team. I love watching him do what he does. He is the best in the world at it for a reason. Obviously calling Ryan Reaves and referring to him being an enforcer, which he obviously has been. The Leafs have kind of, in their acquisitions, even in the trade deadline, have been moving towards the more aggressive thing with Edmondson, all these guys, Labushkin. This is, what are your thoughts on Ryan Reaves, these comments, and just his play? Obviously, we saw the fight yesterday with Pizzetta against the Montreal Canadiens, and then started going at their bench. I mean, he's done, after the kind of slow start, he's never going to be a point scorer or anything like that, but he has kind of got the heart of a lot of Leafs fans, despite maybe not being the signing that the Leafs wanted. They got him, and he's making an impact at the right ways, at the right time as well, leading into the playoffs.
He's been fighting a lot recently and asserting himself into the game. And I guess last night you got the memo that WrestleMania is this weekend because, again, another fight against the Montreal Canadiens. So that was nice to see. And honestly, listen, like, I love Ryan. I love everything this guy has brought to the team since he came back from his initial injury. He has been, the second half of the season, I guess, exactly as advertised. He is an enforcer. You know exactly what you were going to get with Ryan Reaves. It's not the type of signing where you're signing a guy to, see what he has or whatever. You know exactly what you're going to get with Ryan Reaves, and we weren't getting that earlier in the season. That's why it was looking more like a disaster. But since then, he's doing exactly what he needs to. I mean, if you look at last night, there was a hit that the Leafs didn't like, and in previous years, they'd kind of just fold up like a cheap suit, and that'll be it for the night, and you probably get rolled over. Reaves, went up to the guy, Pizzetta, and said, listen, I didn't like that. We're dropping the gloves right now. He filled him in, and then the Leafs scored immediately after. That is hockey. That is hockey, and I think hockey might be moving a little bit more to that in the next like it's kind of reverting back in a way, like enforcers and tough guys are being sought after again at deadlines and stuff like that. So he has been really good for the Leafs, and he's putting together good shifts, not just the fighting stuff. He's putting together really meaningful shifts, so that's good to see. And he fires the guys up. He fires the guys up on the bench. So he's putting in some good work on the ice.
I think it'll matter a lot as well in the playoffs, as we've obviously seen in several other playoff runs. We saw the Boston Bruins kind of get the best of the Leafs a lot of the times just from their physicality. And now this year, bringing in Ryan Reaves, he is going to be a big piece going forward. And hopefully he can continue to. Obviously, he's not going to do much on the offensive end, but he can continue to just play well and continue to. I mean, he needs to do exactly this. Whether or not you mentioned the hit yesterday, we've seen hits. He's gotten in tons of fights the past few games. Really the whole season, he's been one of the biggest fighters. But like Auston Matthews says here, it's what he's paid to do, and it's what he's best in the world at doing. Any final thoughts before we wrap up? Hopefully, the Leafs can continue to play well, and I think Reaves is helping that in intangible ways more so.
I think if you asked anybody, and even myself in like November, let's say, is he a playoff player? Is he going to be in the Leafs playoff lineup? A lot of people would have said no, and that the contract was a disaster. But fast forward to today, this guy absolutely has to be in the game one lineup. I mean, he is a difference maker. We saw it last night. We've seen it before in different games. It's the timing. People want Ryan Reaves to fight every shift. It seems it's, back and forth. Like he shouldn't even be playing, and he should be fighting all the time. He picks his spots pretty well, I think, and he gets the guys fired up, and he gets that adrenaline for the team going, and then they're able to go out there and score some goals. So I think it's good, and he's going to be key for the Leafs. I think he is a little bit of a difference maker, right? In that way, he fires the guys up. So I'm going to enjoy watching him in the playoffs. I think the game changes in the playoffs, and I think he's going to be really good for the Leafs. Yeah,
especially as long as he maintains his ability to not take unnecessary penalties, which is the biggest thing going forward. But that'll wrap it up. Let us know in the comments what your thoughts are on that. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.